So let's take a closer look at the Secretary of State's mission to Latin America and what the United States is trying to accomplish in the region. We're joined once again by Shannon ONeil, an expert on Latin America with the Council on Foreign Relations here in New York. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So Cuba was excluded, as we pointed out, 47 years ago for pretty much siding with the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Should Cuba be allowed back in?
Well, this is the big question that's happening today at the OAS meeting. But the question is, are they admitted back in, and even do they want to come back in? Cuba said that they don't want to come back into the OAS, but there are other nations pushing for them. If this resolution is passed, if they get rid of the old expulsion, then the question is, do they come back in? So one, does Cuba want to come back in? But two, if they come back in, the OAS today has a democratic charter that was signed in 2001. All the countries agree to abide by free and fair elections for multiple number of parties.
This sort of goes back to those conditions that the
Exactly,
Secretary of
those
State
conditions. So the question is, if Cuba really was going to come back in, would all the other nations not want Cuba to sign on to the democratic charter to these issues? Would the U.S. be alone? I would think actually the U.S. would not be alone in this, but that would remain to be seen.
And we're hearing about these overtures coming from Cuba in the recent weeks in which they were talking about wanting to discuss with the U.S. immigration issues, even the reestablishment of a postal service. Is this the sign of a thaw?
You know, we've seen the Obama administration make steps to opening to Cuba, allowing remittances to go back, allowing Cuban Americans to travel back. This is Cuba in many ways responding, saying we'll talk about immigration, we'll talk about the postal service. So I would expect we'd see these baby steps on both sides as they start opening up their relationship in the next coming weeks and months.
Well, when does postal service discussion turn into political prisoner discussion?
You know, that is the big question. How far are the Cubans willing to go? How far are the Americans willing to go? And this, I do think, will be slow steps towards a greater opening.
I want to bring up the influence of Iran, because it seems that it's trying to exert greater influence in South America. Why would Iran have an interest there?
You know, Iran has been more and more interested in Latin America under Ahmadinejad as president. It's been a big focus of his to reach out to other countries that aren't as aligned with the United States. So that's why he's there. Now the question is, what's going to happen with this? There aren't cultural ties with Latin America. There aren't even all that many economic ties. And actually, in the elections in Iran coming up in 2 weeks, Ahmadinejad is getting hit by the opposition on what he's doing in Latin America. So where this goes in the future really depends on him in Iran, not the general leadership, and really where this could develop, because there aren't these real bases for cooperation.
Shannon ONeil, as always, thank you.
Thank you.